Head coach Kelly Sheffield is here. We'll have some opening comments, then take questions.
Certainly looking forward to this weekend with going to Nebraska and Iowa, two teams that are off to fantastic starts, on their season and in the conference. And I think that's where we're at. Just looking forward to another opportunity in the big.
How much you went back and studied the Minnesota match, but with the extra time, were you able to see things on video, anything enlightening that came out of the post-mortem there?
Yeah, we got our butts kicked. I don't know how enlightening that was. We kind of knew that as it was going on. I think right away, you go and you talk to your team, and we try to give some perspective. Hey, this is a tough conference, and that can happen to anybody. We've certainly had our fair share of doing that to other people, and it was a really good team that was playing really well. And let's move on to the next match. That was the approach that we took. I think after I talked, I think Haley Nelson went up to the gym for about 50 minutes, an hour or something, and just worked on serving and blocking and probably anger management and trying to get some of that stuff out. And then she gives me a call the next day and just says, hey, I may be wrong here, but I disagreed with how you approached it. And, but if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But, we're Wisconsin, darn it, and that doesn't happen to us. And I'm not okay with the mentality of just moving on to the next match. And I think we ought to be ticked off about that. And I said, Nellie, you're right. You're right. That doesn't happen. That should not happen. And we'll talk about it as a team. And so, the leadership of her, as a senior, being able to stand up to the coach and just say, hey, I'm not ready to move on, and I don't think we should either. You go back and watch the film because everybody else is going to study it, and you don't just say, hey, it's a throwaway match and let's move on. I think that's a mistake as a coach. It's especially nowadays, everybody's going to be studying what you're doing poorly, and that's every coach that's up here is that, with how things are done right now, there's no secrets, and especially against really good teams. So you better know yourself what you're doing poorly. And so we were able to address ourselves, like you said, before we moved on to Michigan. We thought that was really important, that we spent a lot of time talking about ourselves and getting that figured out. And then, but you do need to move on quickly. You've got the 18th ranked team in the country 72 hours later. And did we figure everything out? No. Part of it was due to our opponent, but there are some things that we've got to continue to get better at as well.
It was about a year ago that Nebraska lost to you in Minnesota in the same week. Mm-hmm. And they've lost one since then, have a national title. Are they a better team now than the one that won the national title a year ago?
That's a good question, Dennis. I think they are, and it's hard to figure out too many aspects of the game that they're not better at. The course of the season, they really got hot at the end of the year, and they're like most teams, they were kind of up and down a little bit through most of last year, and I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing that their floor is a lot higher than what it was last year, and I think their ceiling is as well. It's a really good team. It's hard to, those top teams in the conference, it's hard to find too many weak spots. And they're certainly one of those guys. You're asking me right now, and then going into this match that we had with them last year, they certainly look to be playing a whole lot better in the middle of October than probably what they were in the middle of October last year. That's for sure.
Brian. When Haley called you, was she talking solely about the team, or was she including herself in that conversation?
That's one of the things about the leaders of this team. They always look right at themselves first. You know, Lauren is a thumb person at herself rather than a finger at somebody else. And you know, Kelly was in my office this morning just asking about some of the things that she can do a little bit better and wanting to discuss that. And that's certainly Haley. That's the first time I've heard Haley in her career, you know, question about something. And it wasn't how we're going about things. It's just, hey, don't make this easy on us. Let's not focus in on, you know, because you sit there and, you know, there's a part that you want your team to be, you know, tough and competitive and everything else. But I think there's another part that you sit there and say, man, this is hard what they're doing, you know, for 30-some matches, and this is a tough league. And, hey, that's going to happen. Let's move on. And she's like, you don't need to protect us that way. You know, this thing should hurt. It should stick with us. And when we're not holding our end of the bargain up, you know, don't be afraid to let us know, which is cool for her to be at a place like that in her career where she can do that. No, that's why she goes up to the gym for almost an hour after the match. She felt she didn't hold up her end of the bargain as well, and so, you know, she's not an all words person. Her actions back up everything that she says.
Diane?
You talked a little bit about the strength of the Big Ten this year. Perfect example was Michigan State beating Minnesota on Saturday night. Can you just kind of talk about the overall strength of the conference, and, you know, is any team going to go undefeated?
If I said no, that'd really tick off the Penn State bunch that's currently undefeated right now. So there's only one team that's got that capability of doing it, and they might be playing as well as anybody in the country. Michigan State, they had match point against Nebraska as well, you know, and you know, Michigan was certainly, I mean, they gave us everything they could handle, and you know, Iowa's beating a Purdue team that was ranked in the top 10, and you know, I think anything can happen on any night. What is crazy is we could play well. We could play a good match, and there's 10 teams that can beat us in our league, at least 10 when we're playing well. You think about that in any sport, in any conference, and that's crazy to think about in one league. But that's kind of where our conference is right now. I mean, we're ranked right now, we're a pretty good team, and we could be playing solid match, and there's that many teams that could beat us because they're capable of that when they're on top of their game.
Right.
Do you think the team is excited to show that what happened against Minnesota, a top-ranked team, that they get to face another top-ranked team at Nebraska and prove that that's not who they are?
We certainly had that approach 3 days later with Michigan, because we felt like that, you know, on any given time that they could be. Michigan's high-end level can be the best team in the country. There's so many teams at their high end, at that match or that week, they could be the best team in the country. They were really excited about playing that team. You know, we know what Nebraska is. You know, they're a championship level program with championship level athletes and incredible coaching staff, great fan base, and they return an awful lot of people from last year and probably add better pieces to the puzzle this year. And so, you know, I think they're jacked up to get back to work and to see if we can get better and have some consistency. You know, we haven't been real consistent the past couple weeks, and that's, you know, a big portion of it just working people in the lineup and, you know, and coaching staff trying to figure things out. But yeah, there's no question they're going to be fired up to play.
Along the lines of the lineup, do you think you're getting closer to settling on something, or are you still looking for different combinations and see how things play out yet?
I'm guessing the coaches' staffs for Nebraska and Iowa wanted you to ask that question. thinking about this week putting Tori Blake as setting. Right side is going to be Kelly Bates. Lauren Gillis is their libero, and kind of start from there, because that's the one combination I haven't tried yet. It's we're getting closer. I mean, it's it's always a work in progress. I mean, it just is. It's just, you know, we could it's important for our players to kind of have an understanding of what's going on, but you don't want to stifle their growth and their improvement. And so you allow things to be fluid a little bit. You keep your eyes and ears open to certain things. You know, we went through a 5-set match without, you know, we kept the same lineup all the way through. It's certainly possible that we stick with that going into this weekend, but we've got a week of practice right now where they're going to be able to improve and get better and show us where they should be.
Dan?
Mark Johnson won 400. You won 100 matches at Wisconsin this weekend. What does that mean to you as far as just the teams and some of your assistant coaches that you've had?
It means he's won 4 times as many as I have here. It's is that what you meant? Just the mathematics behind it? Oh, a little bit more. It's I don't know. I mean, I didn't hear his answer. It's probably very similar, that you don't get caught up in that as a coach. You hear from more former players, and that's what's cool. It's cool that, you know, afterwards, you know, the players started clapping and yelling for me, and I had no idea what in the world they were. I thought they were clapping and yelling for me because I stuck with the lineup all the way through a match. That's what I thought they got excited about. But it's cool to see them get excited about something like that. But really, you hear from former players. You know, you know, whether it's Albany or Dayton. You know, hearing from you know, some of my players at Virginia, some of the players at you know, that coach and club at Munciana, and that is when you're reconnecting with people that you have a relationship with. That's really cool, and that's by far the best part of it.
Anything else for Coach?
Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks, Kelly.